The air on Halloween night always has a different kind of crispness, doesn't it? It's thick with the scent of fallen leaves, bonfire smoke, and the sugary promise of candy. For my friends and I, it was our favorite night of the year. We were teenagers, just old enough to feel too cool for trick-or-treating but still young enough to crave the thrill of the spooky season. That year, we decided to do something different. Instead of a party or a horror movie marathon, we planned a trip to the old Blackwood Manor on the edge of town. You know the place, every town has one. The big spooky house on the hill that's been abandoned for decades, wrapped in rumors and local legends. They said a family had vanished from Blackwood Manor on Halloween night, almost a century ago. No trace, no clues, just an empty house with the dinner table still set. Of course, we didn't believe it, but the story was the perfect excuse for a Halloween adventure. There were 4 of us: me, my best friend Liam, who was the skeptic and self-proclaimed leader, his girlfriend Maya, who loved all things supernatural, and Chloe, who was just there for the thrill and the pictures. We piled into Liam's beat-up sedan, the back seat filled with flashlights, a camera, and a nervous energy that was half excitement, half genuine fear. As we drove up the winding, unpaved road to the manor, the streetlights disappeared. The trees grew thicker, their branches like skeletal fingers scratching at the car windows. The moon was a pale, shy sliver, hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds. Darkness, a real, heavy darkness, swallowed us whole. Liam killed the headlights as we parked. "Don't want anyone to see us," he whispered, though there was no one around for miles. Stepping out of the car, the silence was the first thing that hit me. It wasn't a peaceful quiet. It was a heavy, listening silence. The kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. The manor loomed before us, a hulking silhouette against the gloomy sky. Its windows were like vacant eyes, and the porch sagged like a tired, open mouth. "Okay, Scooby Gang, let's do this," Liam said, trying to sound brave as he flicked on his powerful flashlight. The beam cut a sharp path through the darkness, landing on the massive oak front door. It was chained and padlocked. "Well, that's that, I guess," Chloe said, a hint of relief in her voice. But Maya was already circling the house. "Over here," she called out, her voice a hushed echo. She'd found a basement window, its glass long shattered, leaving a dark, gaping hole. It was a tight squeeze, but one by one we lowered ourselves into the musty-smelling dark. We landed in a cellar. The air was cold and damp, smelling of earth and decay. Our flashlight beams danced around, revealing stone walls covered in cobwebs and shelves lined with empty, dusty jars. It was exactly what you'd expect from an abandoned cellar. We found a set of wooden stairs and cautiously made our way up, the steps groaning under our weight. The stairs led into a kitchen. Moonlight, faint and gray, filtered through the grimy windows, revealing a scene frozen in time. A cast-iron pot sat on the stove, and cracked porcelain plates were still on a drying rack. It was unsettling, like we'd walked into a photograph. "This is incredible," Chloe whispered, snapping a picture with her phone, the flash momentarily blinding us. "Turn that off," Liam hissed. "We don't know who or what might be here." We moved from the kitchen into a grand dining room, and there it was, just like the legend. A long, dark wood table was set for a family of 4. Plates, tarnished silverware, and empty glasses. A thick layer of dust covered everything, but it was undeniably a meal interrupted. A chill, colder than the cellar air, snaked its way down my spine. "Okay, this is officially creepy," I muttered, my voice barely a whisper. Maya ran her finger through the dust on one of the plates. "They just left," she breathed, her eyes wide. We decided to explore the upstairs. The grand staircase in the main foyer creaked with every step, the sound unnaturally loud in the oppressive silence. We explored a few bedrooms. They were all the same. Beds neatly made, clothes folded in open-faced wardrobes, personal trinkets left on dressers. It was like the family planned to be back in an hour, not a century. Then we found the children's room. 2 small beds, a rocking horse in the corner, and a collection of old-fashioned dolls sitting on a shelf. Their painted-on smiles and glass eyes seemed to follow us as we moved. Chloe, trying to break the tension, picked one up. "Look at this creepy thing," she said with a nervous laugh. And that's when we heard it. A soft, almost inaudible sound. A child's giggle. We all froze. Our heads snapped towards the hallway. "What was that?" Chloe whispered, her bravado gone. She gently placed the doll back on the shelf. "Probably just the wind," Liam said, but his voice lacked conviction. He gripped his flashlight tighter, his knuckles white. We stood there, holding our breath, listening. Silence. After a long moment, we collectively exhaled, dismissing it as our overactive imaginations. We decided we'd seen enough and it was time to leave. We started heading back towards the main staircase. As we stepped into the upstairs hallway, the giggle came again, louder this time. It seemed to come from the end of the hall from a door that was slightly ajar. Curiosity, or maybe stupidity, got the better of us. Liam led the way, his flashlight beam cutting a nervous path ahead. He pushed the door open. It was another bedroom, but this one was different. It was completely empty. No furniture, no dust, no cobwebs. The floorboards were clean. The walls were bare, except for one thing. In the center of the room, drawn on the floor in what looked like chalk, was a child's drawing of a stick figure family. A mom, a dad, a boy, and a girl. They were all holding hands, smiling. But there was a fifth figure, a tall, shadowy stick figure with long, spindly arms, standing behind them. As we stared at the drawing, a floorboard creaked, directly behind us. We spun around, our hearts pounding in our chests. The hallway was empty, but one of the bedroom doors that had been wide open when we passed it was now closed. We hadn't heard it close. "Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving." "Now," Chloe stammered, her face pale. None of us argued. We practically ran to the grand staircase. But as we reached the top, we stopped dead. Down in the foyer, where there was nothing before, stood the rocking horse from the children's room. It was rocking back and forth, slowly, rhythmically. Creak, creak, creak. On its own, panic set in. We scrambled down the stairs, tripping over each other, our only thought to get to the basement and out the window. We burst into the dining room, but the path to the kitchen was blocked. The heavy dining table had been moved, scraping a long gash in the floor, and was now barricading the doorway. How is that possible?" Liam yelled, his voice cracking. A scream ripped through the house. It wasn't one of us. It was a high-pitched, terrified scream of a woman. It came from upstairs, then a man's shout filled with pure terror. Then the sound of children crying. It sounded so real, so close. It was a phantom chorus of a family's last moments. We were trapped. We started shoving the table, our adrenaline giving us a strength we didn't know we had. As we pushed, the screaming upstairs grew louder, more frantic, echoing through the halls. It felt like the walls were vibrating with the sound. Suddenly, all the doors on the second-floor landing slammed shut at once. Bang! The sound was like a gunshot, making us all jump. And then, a new sound. A slow, heavy, dragging sound coming from the top of the stairs. Something was coming down. We gave one final, desperate shove. The table moved just enough for us to squeeze through. We didn't look back. We sprinted through the kitchen, not daring to glance at the dark, silent stove. We threw ourselves down the basement stairs, tumbling onto the cold, damp floor. The dragging sound was at the top of the basement steps now. A long, dark shadow stretched down the staircase towards us. We crawled and clawed our way to the broken window. Liam went first, then hoisted Maya and Chloe out. I was last. As I pulled myself up, my foot snagged on something. I looked down. For a split second, my flashlight illuminated the floor. Scrawled in the thick dust, right where we had been standing, were 4 stick figures. They looked just like the ones upstairs, but these were lying on the ground. And standing over them was the same tall, shadowy figure, its spindly arms reaching down. I screamed and wrenched my foot free, tumbling out onto the cold, wet grass. We didn't stop running. We ran through the trees, not caring about the branches that whipped at our faces. We ran until we burst out of the woods and saw the reassuring sight of Liam's car. We threw ourselves inside, locking the doors. Liam fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking violently. The engine roared to life, and we sped away from Blackwood Manor, leaving its darkness and its screams behind us. We never talked about what happened in that house. Not really. We tried to rationalize it, to explain it away as group hysteria or the house settling. But we all knew. We knew what we saw and what we heard. Sometimes, on a quiet night, if I listen closely, I can still hear the creak of that rocking horse, and I can still see that drawing in the dust. Every Halloween, I don't think about candy or costumes. I think about a house on a hill, a dinner that was never finished, and the terrifying darkness that waits for anyone foolish enough to walk through its doors.